Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be continuing the series that we started last time. I'm going to be retelling myths while playing Minecraft. Today we're on a parkour server, Zero Minr. It's a great server for practice and just playing around. So check it out if you enjoy it, and let's get into it. So today, I give you the Myth of Pandora. Perhaps you've heard some of it, perhaps you haven't. So Pandora, it is said that Pandora was the first woman, created by the gods as a folly to man. When men refused to properly honor the gods, they created a woman, and they named her Pandora. They showered her in beautiful things, clothes, and gave her the fairest of all fair looks. Pandora means the gift of all, and that was her name. One day the gods gave Pandora a box. They told her not to open it, as if she did, she would bring misfortune down on man. And then they gave her to Epimetheus, the brother of Prometheus, whose name you will likely hear in another story, in many other stories, in fact, and I'll probably talk about him at some point, but that is not what you need to know, who you need to know right now. Epimetheus and Pandora lived together for a while. But Pandora was curious. Like the gods had given her the gift of curiosity, and she wanted to know what was in the box. So she opened it one day. The moment she opened it, sorrow and mischief and misfortune flew out. Pandora slapped the lid back on the box, trying to close it up, but it was too late. Grief and madness continued to haunt the world to this day. But when Pandora clapped the lid back on the box, one had still stayed back. Hope. And hope continues to this day to be the guidance of men and women in the darkest of times. So, next up, we have the story of Baucis and Philemon. This one actually has a happy ending. So sometimes the gods, tired of being up on their heavenly thrones and doing whatever they wanted, so sometimes a few gods would go down to earth, disguise themselves as maybe beggars or workers, and just go check on how the world was doing. So one day, Zeus and Hermes decided to go. They just decided to go to a nice little village and see if anyone would take in 2 poor beggars. So Zeus and Hermes went to the city or city-state of Phrygia, disguised as poor wayfarers. They went around and knocked on doors and asked if people would take them in, maybe give them a place to stay and some food for the night. Not one house would allow them in. All these great, beautiful houses, clearly of massive wealth, they were turned out of all of them. Until finally, they came to the edge of the city, and they found a humble little shack, a hovel, if you will, made by people who did clearly not have the wealth and resources that others had. But when the two disguised gods knocked, a cheerful voice told them to come in. They found themselves in a nice, small, but very well-kept house, where an old man and woman lived together. The woman's name was Baucis, and the man's name was Philemon. They told the gods that they were only poor people, but would be glad to take them in, give them some food, and help them. So, she and her husband went to their garden and collected whatever food they had that was ripe at the time. And they made a delightful little meal. The table had to be propped up with an old cloth, but they all made themselves very comfortable and had a nice dinner. After that, Baucis and Philemon brought out a nice glass of wine, They poured their guests glasses, but they noticed something strange. They noticed that no matter how many glasses they poured, the bowl or bottle of wine remained full. It did not seem possible for it to be drained. And they looked at each other in amazement and realized that their visitors, must be divine, gods or deities, and they were terrified. They begged who they now knew as gods to pardon how poor they were and what poor supplement they had offered to such great people. But Zeus and Hermes spoke to them kindly, and told them that they were the only people who had shown two beggars kindness in a land of wealth where no one would help them. And they told the couple, "This town will be punished, but you may have your reward." And they brought the two out of the hut and told them to look around. And the two looked around in amazement. They saw that the entire city had been transformed into a giant lake. All the houses were gone underwater except for theirs, and everyone except them drowned. They were a bit sad for their neighbors, but as they watched their small, lonely little hovel transformed into a great white pillaring temple. And then Zeus spoke to them and said that they may have any favor that they wished, for being ones so kind as to take in just a poor beggar. And the two of them thought and conferred for a moment. And then they turned to Zeus, and they said, "Let us be your priests, guarding this temple for you. And oh, since we have lived so long together, let neither of us ever have to live alone. Grant that we may die together." Zeus was well pleased with what they asked. And a long time they served in that building. And the story does not say whether they ever missed their old shack. But one day, after many, many years of serving, they were reminiscing together about their old life they'd shared, full of struggle and misfortune, but also of beauty and grace. And all of a sudden, they both saw it. They were each transforming. They were leaving this earth. And together, they transformed into a tree. A tree that was linden and oak, growing from the same trunk. And so the two got to be together forever, guarding Zeus's temple. Alright, well, I think that's gonna do it. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, like, subscribe. Tell me what you thought. Request other videos or other myths or whatever the heck you want. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!